Alright, another little window out here. I'd like to do a round of gluing, get these guys on, get those on, and make the biscuit join of the piece that'll become the transom thwart. And I wanted to make this like really wide to maximize the amount of storage for foam flotation under here. So it's going to come down about 2 inches below there, just slightly higher than this line, to make sure that there's plenty of room for the outboard motor hooks to go in without getting a problem, and still get a max height for foam. And none of the boards are wide enough. Thickness planer them a bit. We can lose the weight. Run them through the joiner and do a biscuit join on them, and then we can make the final decision about exactly how wide that thwart will be, because these two boards together are going to be more than makes sense. That would be a mighty long shelf back. Well, it's not the most perfect join. The blade probably needs sharpened, but I really like how the grain ends up coming together. These are two different boards. I was worried they wouldn't look like they go together. I think that'll work out just fine. And we'll do some biscuit joining. Do lots of them, I guess. But this will be epoxy joined, so it should be pretty strong. This is a biscuit joiner, magical machine. Cuts that little shape, and then the biscuits, these guys, go in on both sides and help hold that joint strongly together. The only tricky thing is make sure this is actually flat, because you want the biscuit to level the surface of the two boards when they go together, and you got to plug it in. They've got all of these next glue spots set up. Mix up some epoxy so you can get this clamp straight. Alright, into the weekend. I'm going to try to get out of this leftover from the rails, just, I think, barely able to get both pieces that'll face these side benches. I'm going to go ahead and try to fasten glue the benches on and in the same gluing session facing strips. It's really early. Came out and unclamped these, and we have to decide how much to trim this back. That looks like a pretty big shelf to me. Really happy with how this came out. Absolutely no give here, and no need for a leg in between. So I'm going to pull these screws out. First time getting in the boat, I think, for me. Should be alright on the cradle. And sitting on the bench. I'm trying to figure out the sequence to finish all this inside once we get the other two thwarts in and then the oarlock mounts. But certainly we're going to need some putty to fill these holes, fill these holes, fill these holes. We're going to need some more round over work. Putty. And that means I'm trying to tape this off because I want dark putty here, lighter putty in these holes. And once that sets, we can finish shaping, sanding, and decide how to attack epoxy and all this. Yeah, try not to waste epoxy. Just a little bit of the lighter colored. Not too much waste. Now, the dark stuff. Not too much waste there either. At least it's not too small. Since this thwart has the mast going through it. I'm going to put a piece of plywood just held back a little bit from the edges so you don't see it, and beveled in, but let the plywood lock that grain for the torque from the mast. So that's the idea. I'm thinking, unless you're really looking underneath that thwart, you won't see much of this thing. I don't think it'll be an eyesore. And it'll really help to strengthen the stresses from the mast going through here. I think I'm going to install this thing, including temp gluing or temp screwing this thing underneath with a complete coat, and then putting it in. I made a paper pattern, and I was hoping to get this much width. That's 16 inches. But this was the max I could get out of that other board. And looks like that's the best we can do, fitting the paper on there. So I got my bevel on the back. We'll cut these angles in. Matter of fact, that's exactly. Well, I think we've got our post made, positions marked, checked for the right reveal, level, angles, and see if we can get this guy glued in. Just about to put the stern thwart in. I can't stop to do anything since I've started the glue, but you guys are welcome to watch.
Is this the boat?
What do you think of the seats, Betty?
I love them.
Isn't this
They're
great?
really
It's
nice.
really good.
I'm pretty happy with how that came out.
Where's
I almost
the
brought
thing?
you some Christmas cookies to nibble on, especially since the fingers got broken off of one of the hands.
Give me the defectives.
Hey, buddy.
Wait, what are you? So you're putting the? Is it another bench?
Yeah, it's this thing right there.
Oh, I
is the
see.
stern thwart. It's the last one
Cool.
to go in.
What's Pop doing, huh? Is he working on his boat? Yeah, we'll take you out.
We'll just see if this works.
Take you out in the water.
Yeah, there's like a lot of seating for the size.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll have some spring picnics.
Be really fun.
Are you gonna sand? Oh, he's sanding the seat, Doug.
Good for you. Put you to work, buddy. Route 1.
So they decided to secede from the Union, and they actually went to.
Flotilla of little boats out in the Key West Harbor attacking the Navy ships.
And they took bread rolls and were throwing rolls at them.
Alright, here goes the thwarts.
That was like 81 or 82. So
But they didn't have to do it actually violent.
no, it was just,
The sailors on the
A
ship.
joke, but they were actually mad.
they were mad, but it was, you know, a very Florida Keys way of
Yeah, dealing with it.
expressing your wishes.
Tricky piece to make fit.
What's that? Huh? Those clamps?
That's good.
Look, you put bricks on it. Have to be kind of careful with those.
Well, that might be good enough.